I get sent to a run with a black guy with mental health issues, anger issues, and I'm told that he's trying to get to a firearm. Alrighty, so I am adding this introduction, having recorded this video several days ago. When I sat down to record this video, I just wanted to tell you a story about how my day was and something that I dealt with that day. But since then, on other videos, I had a rash of comments from people criticizing me for using the term defund the police. And what they continued to say over and over and over again is that, well, some of them called me a dummy, some of them called me a right-winger, they called me a lot of things, but they said, listen, it was never about defunding the police. It was all about reallocating resources to people who are better equipped to handle these tasks than the police officer. I've made videos in the past about why that is a stupid concept, but then I realized that today's video is another perfect example, because the video that you're going to see is me telling a story about a run I had with a man who has some mental health issues, and he called his mental health professionals trying to get some help with that. And what he was saying was a manifestation of his mental illness. He became incredibly angry and he said, I'm going to find these people and I'm going to kill them. I think he said, I'm going to shoot those motherfuckers. So the response from the mental health professionals was to call the police, not give any information about this man's diagnosis, and just say, there's a guy at this house, he can't find his keys and he's threatening to kill people. Not only that, but the people who he suspected had taken his keys, these mental health professionals called those people, and instead of saying, hey, have you seen this man's keys? They said, hey, there's a guy and he wants to kill you. So what they did was they sent police officers. It's important that people understand what is really going on in our world, because if you take money away from police departments and you say, look, police officers shouldn't be dealing with mental health issues, they should be dealing with criminals and criminal matters, you take that money away, you take away the resources from the police department, you take away their equipment, you take away their manpower, because they're not supposed to be handling this type of issue, and you give that to mental health professionals. What happens when those mental health professionals fail to do their job and expect the police to do it for them? Now you have a police department that has less funding, less manpower, less equipment, but they're still dealing with the same volume of runs because the people who are supposed to be doing their job refuse to do so. So this video will serve multiple purposes, but the most important thing that I want everyone to understand is that this idea of defunding the police, or if you want to get cute about it and say we're reallocating funds to where they can best be used, this is a foolish idea, and people spreading it need to shut their mouths because they don't know what they are talking about. People's lives are literally at risk because of the ignorance that is being spread. With all of that being said, enjoy the video. I think I had fun telling this story, and it's important. I'll talk to you guys later. I have a story. The story that I want to tell you about is how much of an absolute failure our mental health system is, or how poorly our people who suffer from mental health are treated by mental health professionals and the people who are supposed to be caring for them. I also want to kind of connect this discussion to the idea that police officers are not equipped, not trained, and just don't have the ability or the patience or the compassion to deal with people who are struggling with mental illness. We're going to cover all of that stuff today. and it's all in one story. The story that I have for you today, I was dispatched on a call from a social worker. This social worker called the police and says, hey, I have a client. He lives at this address. He had some furniture delivered today. Then his house key came up missing. Now he's threatening to get a gun and kill the people who delivered his furniture. I don't know if he has a gun, but he has mental health issues and a violent history of explosive disorders. I don't know what's going on. The police need to go and talk to him. I was the police that went and talked to this guy. I arrived on the run. I walked up to the building. It's a secure apartment building. As I walk up the stairs, I can see glass doors. And typically when I walk up to a building like this, I look around for a resident that might be outside smoking that can allow me into the building. This particular time, there was nobody outside smoking, but I look through the glass doors. There's a gentleman sitting on the stairs talking on his phone and looking out the door, and he's saying, I'll be with you in just 1 minute. So I stand outside. I make sure I get the guy's name and ask for a description, which a description I do not receive. I'm looking in the window, and I'm pretty sure I'm looking at my guy who has a long mental health history of violent explosive disorders and a criminal record and all these other things. He's dangerous. He has it in his mind that he's going to kill people. That's why the social worker had to hang up the phone and call the police. So the guy comes to the door, and I said, hey, are you so-and-so? He explains to me that, yes, he is. He said, sorry, officer, I couldn't come to the door. I was on the phone with my case manager. I've been calling them nonstop because I can't find my keys. I don't know what happened. I'm terrified. So I ask him, how did you lose your keys? He tells me, he's like, I thought I set them down by the door, but also at one point in the day, I went out to help the workers get the furniture off the truck. And I don't know, I might have left my keys on the truck. I don't know where they are. Nobody's helping me find my keys. I asked him if he'd searched his apartment. He had not. I said, why don't you come inside and show me? And he goes, you know what? You can go ahead and look for them. I trust you. So I walk around in the apartment. Another officer showed up. He walked outside with this guy. We looked everywhere. We could not find the keys. When I was in his apartment, I can tell you that he had not lived there more than a day. He had no furniture except for a couch and a bed that had been delivered that day. Didn't have any TV, didn't have any tables, didn't have any dishes, did not have very many clothes except for clothes in one laundry basket. I walked outside and I started talking to him again. I was like, well, what are we going to do about these keys? And that's when he told me, well, I called my case manager. My case manager is taking care of it for me. Before I called his case manager, I got a little bit of more information from him. I asked him how long he'd been living there. He told me he just moved in yesterday. I asked him if he was homeless just prior to that. He told me that he has a long history of drug abuse and mental illness, which has led to some criminal infractions in his past. He had some domestic violence, burglary, aggravated burglary. I looked up some reports with his name on it. Some pretty violent encounters that he's had in the past. But here it was today, being a perfect gentleman for me. So I picked up my phone. I called the person who called us, and I said, hey, my name is Officer Ben. I'm out here at this address. I'm talking to our mutual friend that you called us about. I'd like to get a little bit more information. Before I could even speak, she started screaming into the phone that this guy is violent, that he's threatening people, that he needs to go somewhere for treatment. I ended up cutting her off, and I said, hold on a minute. I'm here now. I'm talking to him. He's perfectly fine. How are we going to find his keys? What have you done? Have you called this furniture company? She said, I did call them, and I informed them of the threats, but I did not ask about the keys. So this woman who is responsible for this guy, he called her, said that he can't find his keys. They might be with the furniture company. She called the furniture company to say that he's so upset that he's threatening to kill them. And it never dawned on her that this guy is a human being with a problem, and he does not have the ability to deal with his problems appropriately. That's what's gotten him into this trouble in the past. And that maybe, yes, you should keep an eye and a mind on the statements that he's made, but maybe you should try to solve his problem and help make him feel more comfortable so that he stops making these kind of statements, so that maybe he won't feel that kind of way and he won't act out on it. But she had not. She had not tried to help him in any way at all. She just called the police, and she called this company and said that there's this guy who's basically homeless and doesn't really have access to firearms, although he may be able to get one on the street, and he wants to kill you guys. That's what she did. So I said, well, I tell you what, why don't you give me their phone number? I'll call them myself. So I called this furniture delivery service. I talked to the manager. He was a very nice guy. I think he was a veteran. By the way he was talking, he said words like Roger, and I copy. It was kind of funny. But I called him and I said, hey, my name's Officer Ben. I'm calling from this address. We have a mutual friend. Has anyone talked to you yet? And he said, yeah. He's like, I've been meaning to call you guys. I've been trying to get a hold of you because I need to make a report. This guy's starting to kill me. And I said, well, he's concerned that he might have left his keys on one of your trucks. Have you made any attempt to call your guys and see if they have his keys? And he's, no attempt whatsoever to try to find this guy's keys. So, keep in mind, this is a guy who was homeless for a long period of time. He was a drug addict, has mental health issues, does not have the capabilities to solve these problems on his own. So the guy told me, hey, let me take down your number. I'll call you back in like 10 minutes. I'll call the crew and have them search the truck and make sure the guy didn't drop his keys in the truck. No problem. Thank you very much. So then I called his other case manager, because he told me that he called this other case manager and she was the one that was calling maintenance for him. And maintenance was possibly going to either come and bring him a new set of keys or change his locks and give him a new set of keys. I called that case manager. She had not yet called maintenance for him to change his locks. So you got this guy who has a long history of mental health, has an explosive anger disorder, can't find his keys. He really wants this problem solved. He's pacing back and forth. He's extremely stressed out, and nobody's doing anything to help him. That's all he knows. That's all he's experienced. So I talked to his case manager. She gives me the phone number to maintenance. I call the maintenance line. I hit the number 2 to get through. I talked to a representative. She tells me that she can actually schedule this to be an emergency call for service, and somebody will be out within the hour as long as the man stays home. I look over at the guy and he's like, well, I was going to go to the bank and get some money. I was going to go down the road and talk to my aunt. She just lives a couple blocks away, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I said, tell you what, bud. It's like, the lady I got on the phone is willing to make this an emergency call for service. She'll get someone out here as soon as possible, but it's very important that you stay home. And then as soon as your locks are changed, you'll have keys. You can get back in your building. You can go see your aunt. You can go to the bank and get your money. How does that sound? He looks at me and goes, yes, sir. That sounds like a really good plan. Thank you very much for your help. So I arranged for maintenance to come out, explained to him what was going on. He was perfectly calm, perfectly happy, was going to go back into his apartment, kept shaking my hand, refused to stop talking to me. Was very grateful for the help that I provided to him. Said that he thought he recognized me from somewhere, which we may have run into each other on the street in the past, or it could have been somewhere else. Who knows? He did say, he said, you're a lot bigger than you were last time, which I thought was kind of funny. I think it's because of the uniform, because I went from a white shirt to a black shirt and an exterior vest. So you can see I look bigger. I look bigger in my new uniform. I don't know, but we had a very pleasant conversation. The frustrating thing about this is that if you ask the politicians, you ask the activists, you ask the media in the national spotlight, I'm a monster. I don't know how to deal with people with these anger issues. He was black. That's another thing. I get sent to a run with a black guy with mental health issues, anger issues, and I'm told that he's trying to get to a firearm. If you believed what's being spread nationwide with all these lunatics that are spreading all this anti-police sentiment, you'd have thought that that was a recipe for disaster. But of all the people in his world today, I, a police officer, was the only one that was able to solve his problem. I tell you what, when I went to the academy, they did not tell me anything about how to call furniture companies and ask if they had a guy's keys. They didn't tell me anything about calling maintenance lines to get people's locks changed to make them feel like somebody's taking care of them. They didn't teach me any of that kind of stuff. I do not have a degree in social work. I do not work for any of these public outreach places. That is not my job. But unfortunately, in today's world, the job of a police officer is to fill in the gaps for other people who are trained to do their jobs, but they refuse to do them. There's a lot of problems in this world, and it's not the police. That's where we're going to end it. I'll talk to you guys later.